My hair good?
Hair is fantastic. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Uzoma Okoro Podcast, real conversations with real entrepreneurs. We have an extremely special guest today. We have a decorated martial artist. We have a participant of the now world-famous Ultimate Fighter show brought on by the UFC. We have a father, a fantastic human being, a yogi, a teacher, a mentor. Please give me a helping hand in welcoming with a warm round of applause. Coach, I got to announce him by his proper title. He is my coach. Coach Kito Andrews.
Thank you so much for that intro. I appreciate that. Thank you so much for having me,
Thank you.
This is really an honor to be a part of what you build, guy.
Hey, it's an honor to have you here. I've been so excited all week to have this conversation with you. And for the entrepreneurs listening, the reason why this is such an exciting day is because we are going to give you real brass tacks information through a lens of love and pragmatic practicality. So, as a practitioner of mixed martial arts, I've been practicing and love the sport for over 10 years. I have such an affinity for fighters and the fighting mentality. And the takeaway where I want us to start and begin with today's conversation is that business ownership, entrepreneurship is a fight. It is a fight in every sense of the word. And who better to speak to about fighting, what it takes, the mentality, the discipline, the strategies, than a professional fighter. So I am really honored to have you and be able to speak to you about fighting, the fighting mentality, and how it applies to entrepreneurship today.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for choosing me. That's one thing I want to say before we get started. A lot of people won't really understand who you are to the core of a person, and I'm going to put it all out there for you guys. Is I was telling him just before we started this that I talk about him very often. I was just talking about him this morning to my mom, and I was explaining all this stuff and how he came up and his story and how we met and starting out at the gym. He was homeless, and I was just telling him, I said, you are the most dynamic human that no one will ever know about. Like ever, because he's so humble and to the magnitude of I'm a very social person. I'm always trying to understand people. I get more contact with a lot of humans, so I know how to kind of understand you as a person. But when I would start talking, I've been training you for 6-7 years.
Yeah,
I've known you since.
I've known you for 15 at least.
2009.
Yeah, go ahead.
But the thing that I've found so amazing just by sharing space with you is how calm you are in chaos, to the magnitude of things that you're dealing with, trying to keep your marriage in line, your children your children are these they're your daughter. I remember talking about your daughter and the first time she started running track. She ran a 12 something in the 100 meters, and it was 15 or 16 or something like that. And that's ridiculous for she was 12 or something like that.
He was like, hey, she's pretty fast, man.
It's ridiculous. That's I'm very big in track and field and stuff, but just understanding the level of how you put your heart into so many things, and then now that you're doing this, when I was telling somebody about how you're how you help buildings breathe and stay alive, and just the magnitude, and it's really cool because I've been able to meet and engage with so many people on a daily basis. I would talk to on an intimate level like this, about maybe 7 to 10 people on a daily basis. And these are lawyers, doctors, people in their 70s, people in their 80s, 12-year-olds, 15-year-olds, you know what I mean? And so when I say you're such a unique, special human being, that's coming from someone since 2009 has been interacting with different humans on a daily basis, Monday through Monday, you know what I mean? Different people. And you're my top 2 guys. It would be Daryl, my jiu-jitsu guy. That would be the only other one that I would say is just wow. And the only reason I probably was you don't tell me as much as you tell me about this stuff is, so I mean, I just want to say that before we get started.
No,
How much of an honor it is to just share space with you and be invited to something like this.
That means a tremendous amount, and that's actually part of the that's your gift, is that because I'm a very private person. I'm a very, 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 very private person, but you have the ability, because you are a master, I think, of understanding and manipulating energies in a good way, that you can pull out of people or extrapolate. And I can't wait till we get to that part of the conversation, because I want to really get into your mindset about how your operating system works, about how you do stuff, why you do stuff, when you do stuff from an energetic standpoint, because I think that is so important. And it's like the secret sauce that's not talked about with regards to fighting and entrepreneurship. So thank you for saying that. It's heartfelt, and I mean it. Let's talk about something at the outset of our conversation that I think happens at the outset of both martial arts and business, and it's the fear of choking the shit out of somebody. And I'll try for online purposes, we'll try not to stray too far into the expletives, but I really want to get the drive the point home that the first thing, I think one of the first things that happened to me definitely, as a big strapping guy when I walked into the MMA gym, is that you are literally, because you're never taught to use your full strength, when you have your arm around somebody's neck or you're sparring, using your full strength, really going 100% to inflict pain on that person, there's a stopgap in the mind that we've been programmed to. I want to talk about, one, how do you get somebody to overcome that in the ring? Because I feel so many entrepreneurs are stifled when they read the Tony Robbins books and they read the motivationals and they get all fired up. But when you talk to them about market share, look, you're going to have to take their business to make your business work, right? You're going to have to hurt another business, if you will. Just like in fighting, you might have to hurt another human being to win. When you see somebody with unlimited potential, and they're fantastically poised to do what you think they can be great at it, but they are having trouble hurting the competition, what do you do for that, Coach?
I feel when people come to me and say, I want to learn jiu-jitsu or I want to learn boxing, but I don't really want to do the actual professional fighting, I say that's fine, but you still have to learn all of the fundamentals. So when people are going into something like business, it's very much the same. It's actually, I can relate MMA or training or anything that I do as far as sports to pretty much just everyone's life. And business, it's probably even a little more, because everything's about mentality. Everything's about how you wake up in the morning and how you set your day. When people are coming into something not too sure about themselves, that's the hard part. When someone, the day someone comes to me and says, hey, I want to do jiu-jitsu, now you're a jiu-jitsu practitioner. You didn't even get on the mat, but because you told me you want to do that and we've set that time, now you're doing jiu-jitsu.
Right.
You get to tell people that I have my jiu-jitsu lesson on Monday, and it's Sunday right now. So now you're part of it. When you go into business, it has to be the same thing. Once you make that decision, this is what you're going to do. You're going to live that lifestyle, so to speak. You don't have to. In MMA, or in training, you don't actually have to get hit, but you have to have the same mentality and understand that this is a decision you're making. It's actually more of an art than it is anything where anger or all of your strength is going to be used. And I think that's kind of where people are starting out, is when they go into it. This is what you do, but we're not here to kill each other. Right. We're here to go. But if you want to get better at this, you have to do it the way that it's supposed to be done. So I kind of make sure they understand that if you don't do it the way that I'm showing you, and I've allowed you, I've been like, oh, you got to use all your strength, and so I can show you that it means nothing.
Right.
You have to, when you get me in a strangle, if you don't learn how to put me unconscious, how is it going to work when you're on someone else? I'm not going to teach you how to do things with people that are white belts. If you squeeze someone's neck that's a white belt, that's a brand new person like yourself, they'll get scared and they'll tap. But if you get someone like me that's got more time and at a higher level, you squeeze them, they're not going to do that. And go ahead.
No, you're just making an excellent point. I love to digest everything that you. So you're making an excellent distinction, and that's a distinction that I want entrepreneurs to make, because you started off saying, okay, learn the principles of it, and that is right and good and true. I think when you're getting into entrepreneurship, you need to learn the principles of business and timing and employees and taxes and entrepreneur. You need to learn those things. But if somebody's trying to turn that corner, because so many people in the entrepreneur space, they don't just want to learn and explore and kind of dabble. They want to go.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. People come to the gym, the MMA gyms that we go to, and sometimes they want to learn and dabble and explore, which I think is absolutely beautiful. But there's some people that come in there and say, I want to be a fighter. Now, for those people, can they actually, if they never turn that corner of being able to choke somebody 100%, being able to punch somebody without reservation, is it realistic?
Yeah, and I apologize. I stray off very often, so you got to keep me on.
No, we love straying. There's no script here. Stray all you want.
But to answer your question, you're absolutely right. You have to put them in situations and help them understand if you don't do what you're supposed to do and what it's sought out and make that choke and strangle them unconscious or knock them out, it's going to happen to you, and you're going to feel. It's hard to explain to a new fighter what it feels like to lose in front of everybody. Mm-hmm. But if I set you up in situations that I get you pushing and helping you see that situation, like with you, I would do a lot of things like get under your skin with little things that I would say and get you motivated. And it needs to be a way that I show you that if you want this is what has to happen. And as being a coach, you had me in a time when my mental health wasn't really diagnosed or anything like that. So I was very paramilitary, being the fact that I was a former corrections officer, and just the way I was raised. So since the fact that I've had my face broken, I've had my arm popped and it doesn't go straight anymore, I've had these things happen, so I don't want them to happen to my students. So I do the things as if the same way I do things like to be proactive for you. And I don't want you to go through the same kind of emotions that I had, so I'm going to terrify you and drill this to you that these are the fundamentals that need to happen. If you want to win, go kill him. And he's going to be saved by the referee. He'll be fine, right? Because it's the ref's responsibility, not yours, in order to finish the fight. Now, going into business, I would think it's going to be the same thing. These people, this isn't, if it's their first business or their last, they got here. They work hard again, they'll get it again.
Let's talk about what you just said, because you were absolutely right. You are, for my money, one of the best trainers I've ever met. One of the best humans I've ever met, but definitely one of the best trainers I've ever met, because the lessons that you imparted stuck with me even after the training in life. So you mentioned getting under my skin. And you and for such a well-balanced, nice human being, you do know how to get under my skin. And so when you're training me, you know I'm a family man, so you'd drop stuff about, the kids and all, and to get me to really get after it, whether it be punching or grappling or choking. And it's funny, even though I sometimes knew it didn't matter. It was a trigger, and you have to understand the people's triggers. So what I'm getting at from a motivational standpoint, right? Because mentorship is a common theme that flows through every aspect of entrepreneurship. I guess we had on here, I've all brought up some form of mentorship. When you got under my skin, it was to bring out the best in me, and you allowed yourself to absorb, literally sometimes, the anger that was coming off of me in order to push me to the next level. We're in a new day and age, and people don't like being chastised or shamed or put down. So how is it, are you still able in fighting, and then by virtue, do you think mentorship entrepreneurs can be effective without being able to use the tools of shame and embarrassment and hardcore things? Can you be an effective mentor if those tools are taken off the table?
Yeah, I definitely believe so, and that's somewhat how I started to evolve as a human and as a father and as a coach. As I used to be very yell, and why can't you get this and that, and understanding that this is a process. The fact that I want things to happen so quick, and that's what you get. you get all these kids that want to be so great so fast, but you got to put in the work. You haven't put in the work, then there's not much we can do, and that's just time. You know, you can apply yourself, but you have to be doing the time. Coming back to your question, I apologize.
Go ahead.
I think it's actually more beneficial to be more of a guide rather than punch down on people, unless you really have an innate ability to read people and understand what they're capable of and what they want out of this whole thing. Like, you understanding where you came from, I could do whatever I want to train you to get where you want, because you're gonna do that. I would sit there, and I'll share with you guys, I would sit there and I would we'd be doing punches and crossing it over, and I is literally half the man that he was then. And he'd be running punches, and he'd start to give me his bullshit, doing this stuff. And mind you, when I first started, I asked you, what's the goal and what do we want to get? I want to get on this. I want to do this. Okay.
Right.
I'm holding that to you. Every morning that I get there at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to come with that same vibration that I came with when you told me I'm going to pay you X amount of money to do this, and I need you to come through for me.
Right.
So when you're not doing what you sought out to do back then, I'm going to remind you why you're doing this.
That's good.
And bringing up your daughter. Hey, if your daughter and your kid were watching, are you gonna drag your butt and act like you're tired right now?
Right.
And I said, they're watching right now. What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
And pop, pop, pop. All of a sudden, everything changes, and then it starts to help you realize that you making the decision. This isn't us. It's this. This tells us to do all that stuff. And so, when it comes to training somebody, it's understanding them a little better. If they're just in it to make money, but they come from some place where they've never had it, and it's so alien to them, and they want this different lifestyle. They want security and stability and longevity for their family. That might be someone that you can kind of throw the kitchen sink at, and they might go. If it's someone who, I'm kind of into it, but maybe they're too passive. Maybe they're not really ready to make it their life. It's going to be a little softer, so they can kind of see, what is this really what you want, but not throw them into the fire. And it's, mind you, they came to you because this is something that they think they want.
Right.
But when you put them in the thick of it, let's see what you want. Some people, like, I can throw you in there no problem. Like, I remember grappling with you, and has this tripod thing where he'll put his bottom up in the air and all of his weight in your throat. And he'd be like, okay. And I could sense when you were trying to not hurt me. And I'd be like, you're a bitch. You're a bitch. Oh, you can't tap me. Like, there's nothing you can do. And with that being said, you would try harder and try harder. You would tap me and stuff. But I'm just saying, like, I needed you to have that mentality.
No, I wouldn't. You being gracious. But I appreciate it.
But you know what I mean? It has to be that. If I have somebody who's trying to come to me and wants to learn some sort of trade for a business, and they're a gung-ho, they're ex-military and this and that, like, I'm gonna get them going. I'm gonna put them on a different regiment than I would with that somebody else that doesn't come from that kind of work ethic.
So let me encapsulate that, because you spoke extremely eloquently from both a mentee and a mentor standpoint. So for mentors, you really have to understand who you're dealing with, and how you can push them. And that, some mentors I've met are one size fits all. They're, either hardcore, Napoleonic, drive it down, beat them down, or they're, or they're really too soft, and I'm not really getting anything out of it. I'm not learning anything. So being able to have that versatility as a mentor, but then you also said, I came to you and said, this is what I want. This is the standard. So if you're seeking entrepreneurship, mentorship, you want to get into a business, you want to get into the real estate, you want to get into whatever, when you do find your mentor, set the standard for what you want, but then let the mentor do their thing.
And I want the standard, relating this to working out. I want the standard of that motivation when you get out of the shower. If you've gotten out of the shower and you look at yourself in the mirror as you're driving yourself off, and you're just fuck this shit. I'm tired of this. I'm gonna get on this and this and that. I want you to tell me about those times.
Right.
So then I can understand the level of passion that you really have in there. You're going to forget about it when you walk into the gym. There's so many other things going on, and you start getting there, and then your body's tired. And you're like, oh, I don't want to do it. And then I'm going to bring you back to that spot. And you know what I mean?
I'm going to tell you that, probably more than anything, stuck with me. After we Stop Training really motivated me. You said something to me one of our last days of training on this particular cycle. You said, I was just dragging one morning. You said, and you kind of looked at me. It was just a real moment, but you looked at me and you spoke in your real voice. You were like, you said, you're not at the point where you're excited for the workout. And that stuck with me. And I'm going to tell you how that really pertains so much to business and entrepreneurship, because you were essentially telling me, and I had to unpack that and analyze it. You were saying, look, don't get up here, mentioning, moaning and dragging. Like, get up with some excitement, some pep in your step, your attitude's right. And I'm, as the person coming through, like, man, okay, I thought me just being here was 90% of it. How am I supposed to get excited for pain? But you do. And that is actually when we have our T-shirts that say "Taking a break from opinions." It's our mantra. Yeah. This was actually birthed in large part from a mentality that you put me in by saying that. Because I tell you what, when I started going to the gym, especially on the treadmill, I sound crazy right now. I know I sound snot bubble I sound and look crazy. Me and this little Italian guy, 135 pounds soaking wet, we sound crazy on the treadmill. Everybody else kind of look, cool running. And there's some really in shape people. No, I'm just saying that from a mentality of to get to the point where you were like, you got to enjoy this. For me, I was like, how? And the how manifest when I literally stopped worrying about everybody else's opinion. I stopped worrying about how I look, how I sounded, what I was wearing when I went to the gym. And that's when the weight started coming off. That's when the fitness level got back to, previous levels. So I thank you for instilling that in me. And really, where did you get that wisdom from? And tell us kind of how you apply that on a regular basis.
Repeat the question for me.
Hey, I know I was long-winded.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
But how do you the mentality of kind of the David Goggins mentality of you gotta embrace the suck. You have that in abundance. I think so much so because you're very fit. You've always been fit to where you might. I don't know if it's easy for you at this point, but how do you work that into your daily routine? That let me embrace the pain.
Well, it's interesting you say that. I've been in a rut, and I haven't worked out in probably like 3 months, maybe 4. And the one thing that I remember is that I can always get back to there because of my fundamentals and what I do in between. A lot of people don't realize what they're bringing to becoming an entrepreneur already, that it's simply, well, I can always relate things to training. If you came from someplace where you have had a desire and you can have a visualization, but maybe you're afraid of that, and you find somebody that can start to bring this out of you, it's something that can kind of change your view on life. I think for me, when I go to the gym or once I get there, I think once I'm there, that's where motivation actually manifests itself. But for me, it's remembering the drive, remembering what you're doing. Like I said, I had that breakfast with my mom, and I said, like, I'm 45 years old, and I don't see myself as having to stop trying to compete. I've had a lot of hiccups and things in life that have deterred me from being able to train, but I know that once I get back to applying myself, it's not going to be a problem, regardless of my age, regardless of anything. I beat up 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds, no problem. And so it's, to answer your question, it's believing in yourself. I grew up with I had a 19, my mom had me when she was 19. We came out here, I woke up to an empty house from 1st grade to 12th grade. Got myself into college. I put myself through college, but I've always believed in myself. And just like yourself, I've never allowed anybody to tell me different. I've been so oblivious to what people have tried to tell me or even show me. And even when I tell people I might go back to Arizona to get back in corrections, and I was on a tactical unit or a SWAT team, and, oh, you're too old, this and that. I was like, you don't get it. Like, you have no idea who I am, and I know who I am. There's nothing you can do to tell me different. I might have gotten knocked down, but that means nothing. You couldn't get back up.
You know why I appreciate you so much, and you've said this, we've had this conversation multiple times, is that you seeing me the same thing that I see in you with regards to just kind of having the mental fortitude to know if I wanted to get back into this, I could get it. You can get because you got the mentality, you can get shredded, you can get a six pack in no time. You're like, I can always do that. At any age, anytime, you have the mental fortitude to be like, okay, I'm gonna get in shape now.
Yeah.
I'm the same way in business, where I'm like, okay, if we lost the contract, I'm like, okay, I can make more money in the next few months. I got to do this, and that. So having that confidence in your tool bag, I think is something that a lot of entrepreneurs need to have, and there's a lack of it. When they reach back, it's like I haven't done it before, and that's a confidence that comes from repetition. So, get out there and fail.
Yeah, that's something. Even when I was in high school, I was a quarterback on my football team, and I remember getting touchdowns. I was a very big fan of Barry Sanders, huge fan of Barry Sanders, and not even how he, it wasn't even primarily how he ran. It was what he did when he got a touchdown. And I remember him saying, why would I celebrate? This is what I practice to do. Why do this is what I work for. I'm not excited. I'm not surprised I got a touchdown.
Right.
This is what I do. I've already visualized myself making 7. I'm more irritated. I only made 6.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it really comes with a mentality that you're going to win. You're gonna get knocked down. You talk to a lot of people. There's very seldom people that just made it. No, nigga, I made it the first time. It was easy.
You perfect segue. You talked about mentality, and you talked about getting knocked down. A lot of entrepreneurs get knocked down before they even get up. One of the fighting concepts that you taught me was you have to subdue a person in order to submit them. Again, something that stuck with me for years, something that I implement in personal life. So explain to us the concept from a fighting standpoint, subdue in order to submit.
Yeah, well, so in grappling, when I would actually grapple, it's very hard to handle a human as strong as him, because it's not just you're ridiculously strong. Like one of the few that I've felt that strong. So in order to get you into submission, I have to have you in a position where you cannot move. And that's my primary goal, is to get into a position where I have full control of you. Most likely that would be your back or some sort of side control position where I have control of I can control your head, the movement of your spine, and your appendages. With that being said, once I definitively have you in a spot where I know you can't get out, then I can start looking for positions to kind of submit you, putting something here so you make the reaction. Putting this arm here, I know he's going to do 2 things. When he does this, I can do this. When he does that, I can do that. And so if he does this and I jump on that, he's got to be fast enough to know that is something even worse than this.
Right.
Sometimes they don't. And then once you start realizing that, then I go that to this and start switching.
So the reason that applied so heavily, and entrepreneurs hear me on this, why this applies to most everybody I know, is that your 9-to-5 job, if you're a true entrepreneur, if you got the entrepreneur fire, you want to start your own business, your 9-to-5 job is subduing you. And if you stay in that position long enough, it will submit you. And that is a thing that I really want entrepreneurs to know, that you're, whatever is subduing you in that box, you have to put in, you only have this much time off vacation, it's working you till 5 o'clock. You can't, start your business because everything you need to get done during the day. You have kids, all that. But with regards to the job and the fear of, losing the healthcare, the welfare, the pension, the, 401k, all that security is subduing you. It's subduing. And again, if you stay there long enough in that position, it has the potential to submit you. So how does, now that we kind of understand the concept of, you're being held in place so you can't move until it gets you, as a fighter, how you get out of that?
It's you got to get submitted. That's really what's going to happen. You're going to get submitted over and over. You're going to watch people get submitted. Why didn't you do that? Why didn't you put 2 hands on one when he was trying to strangle you?
Right.
Little things like that. So in relation to business, I think it's going to be being very aware of your surroundings, watching your big brothers, studying people who you admire. Hey, did you make it the whole way through and 9 times out of 9, you're going to hear about these people taking big L's. And
Yeah.
I talked to my boy Daryl, and he tells me about, he does renovations, and he's amazing athlete, even more amazing business person. But he tells me about losing 20 bands, 30 bands on a family that just decided not to pay him.
Yeah.
Like, you want me to pull up? Like, what do you need? Like, it's ridiculous. And he's just like, it happens. You know what I mean? So
you're gonna lose. You're gonna get submitted.
You're gonna lose.
Get used to it. That's one of the main tenets I try to tell people, give people real and practical strategies as how to get out. If you have a 9-to-5 job and it's closely related to the industry that you want to get into, I always advocate for people to try to make their employer their first client.
Yeah.
Right. So I was talking to a young entrepreneur about this. I was like, yeah, go home, write a proposal for the job you have now. You work 5 days a week. Write that proposal as a 1099 contractor for 3 days a week at a lower rate. Your boss will probably love it because he saves money. Now you get your 2 days back to go start your own business. Mm-hmm. And the question that he asked for me was, but I could get fired. And my answer was, hell yeah, you might get fired. You might get submitted. Mm-hmm. There's no way around it.
Mm-hmm. But you're never going to know until you make that attempt.
Exactly.
And that's the whole thing. And now going back into being a coach for something like that, I would think your mentor would give you those tools that, hey, this worked once before for so-and-so, but for you, it might not be the same. You got to kind of figure out these tools yourself. And it's calculated. I remember when I went to full on into this whole personal training thing, I was doing it I just came back from Arizona. I was a corrections officer. I got into this, I was working for USAA. It's a military insurance company, and I was doing claims. And then they decided to push everything down and move back. I was gonna move to Texas, I think, if I wanted to stay with the company, but I didn't. So they gave me like a severance pay and put me on unemployment. And then I was like, I think I'm just gonna try to stay with this. I don't want to work anymore.
Right.
Like work. You know what I mean?
I know.
Like training people is literally. I do it for free a lot of times too.
And that's another thing. Yeah. So if you would do it for free, I know people say it and it sounds like a cheesy cliche, but it's true. Yeah. If you would do it for free, that is really something that you should consider doing full time as your job. Another principle that you imparted on me, the hard way, is being defensively responsible. So we're sparring, we're doing different types of boxing, Dutch boxing, Muay Thai, and you would often pop me in the face because I wouldn't pull my hands back and be defensively responsible. So for our listeners, can you please explain the concept of being defensively responsible?
The best way to explain it is that when someone's in a combat or a fighting situation, they're typically only thinking about being offensive and trying to inflict pain, not thinking that when I do this, what openings am I leaving? Am I putting myself out of position to get hit back again? That's where I think a lot of people, they're so excited and they're so tunnel vision. They're not understanding that maybe, like for me, I've been submitted so many times that there's only a handful of people, I think, at my gym that can submit me. Even when they have it in, like, they're not ready to put me unconscious. Like, and that's something that I started training with Nick and Nate. And they didn't really teach people a lot. Well, actually, it was just Nick because Nate was like 16 or 15 or something like that. But
just hit you with the Stockton slap and kept running.
They would just straight Nick fracture. He broke my sternum, something like that. They put you out and all that stuff.
And I didn't realize I was training in a den of killers until I went to other gyms.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Why is this guy trying to choke me?" I was like,
No, that's, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I didn't really I didn't appreciate that until I started traveling.
Yeah, so going back to it, I as someone who's had so many situations where I've been hurt, I've had things happen where it was stupid mistakes, I try to help you understand defense is primary.
Right.
Offense can only come when you have a really good understanding of defense and how to use their offense to create openings. So with business, I would really be talking to people who maybe they didn't make it. Maybe people who were like, yeah, I tried that, but it didn't work. Well, tell me, what did you do? Well, I wasn't too motivated to do this, and then you already can see.
Yeah.
That was their issue. You can tell how they present themselves. Like, wait, you're showing up to a business meeting looking like that. No wonder. And then you start to realize, like, they're not like me. That's why they didn't get there. And you start, holding yourself up a little taller.
You do got to hold yourself accountable. And like you said, so many business owners, just like fighters, are so offensively. Okay, when I want to start up my own business, whether it be a podcast business or I want to sell cupcakes. It's like, okay, how am I going to market? How am I going to YouTube? How am I going to, get the word out there about what I'm doing? It's offense. But they don't say, how am I going to handle the taxes? How am I going to handle the insurance? How am I going to handle the liability? How am I going to handle, all these things that are coming at them, and those are the things that'll take you out.
Like right away, and you have to have a reasonable, like small attainable goals. There's the end result down there, but the small attainable goals, maybe you can't. Maybe you want to put out 7 promo things or whatever, but maybe we put out 3 right now, and we make them quality and understand what's going to be the backlash for them and stuff, and see how good we work with those tools. Like with you, I think I only taught you maybe 1 submission right away. I taught you the Kimura because you're ridiculously strong. It's easier to get. So then as you get good with it from one position, then we start looking how to get it from other positions and other positions. And then maybe when someone has your back, you can get a Kimura from the, so, right. But then once I start from there, you get proficient in that, maybe 3, 4, 6 months. Then when I give you another move, you're going to be wanting to understand how can I do it different ways like this one?
Right.
I want to try to find it. So then you start kind of playing around, visualizing, and hands down, the biggest thing is visualizing your success, visualizing things happening good. And not only good, visualize things happening bad, because that motivation, I remember winning a fight once. I was on like an 8-fight winning streak when I came back out here, and I remember winning fights and being mad at myself because I didn't knock them out, and going back to the gym with the mentality that I lost.
Right.
And the reason being is when I played football, runner, and track, when I played basketball in high school, losing and coming back to practice that next Monday was the fucking worst.
Brutal.
So when I was in there, I was playing like I already know what it feels like to lose, and I don't want that. So I'm playing with that fear. And it's channeled fear. It's not I'm not terrified. I'm doing fucking move.
You know the funny thing is, you mentioned something that just sparked a question in my mind, or really a story in my mind, about how you present yourself, especially when you're coming out. So there's a push, especially in the African American community, African business owner community, not to code switch, not to be yourself wherever you're at, right? And I agree with that in large part, but there's also a professional standard etiquette that you want to do within the confines of that. You still want to be yourself. You still want to have the bass in your voice. You still want to have your swagger, but you want to conduct yourself professionally. I remember I was interviewing this. There's 2 things. There's one, I got to a point where we were interviewing so many people, and then I would interview a lot of young African American men for certain positions with their company, and they would always come to the interview and call me bro. And for me, the interview was done at that point because this is a high-paying, professional-grade job, and it's like, hey, bro, like you get a little too comfortable. You got a little too comfortable in the first one, because I know they wouldn't do that if they were going for a Fortune 500 company or the same thing. So my question to you is, in that, how do you feel about that, just generally speaking, as far as being able to present yourself in a professional manner, but still keeping your, keeping your swagger?
Yeah, I think that's always it's always better to have like a more professional like you present yourself in a more professional manner initially and stuff, and then let people see that you're about business, and then you can kind of let them see that you're a human being as well. I'm very compassionate as a someone who strangles people for fun, and it's really funny. It's interesting to say the least. But when I meet with someone or I tell them I want them to feel like they're gonna get what they pay for.
Right.
You know what I mean? So when I talk to you, I'm gonna tell you what my experience is in this, and then what's gonna happen if you give me this permission to do this. I'm at no point gonna hurt you. I'm no point going to make you feel bad about yourself, but I'm gonna use my techniques and my skills to bring out what you're asking me to do, because you can't do it your way.
Right.
Don't ask me say like that. Let me do it my way. Okay, if that makes sense, and I don't need you to. I don't want your input right now.
Right.
And then
and that's fair.
And it's not. I do come off very, for lack of a better word, rude, just so to speak. But people like that. People like being held accountable for their stuff, because and like when I met you and we would do you do my conditioning classes back at Ultimate Fitness, I would have 30 plus or 20 plus people. and I knew if someone wasn't doing what they were supposed to be doing.
Right.
Every single time. So-and-so, get your feet up. No. Oh, get your butt down.
Right.
Remember that was always, oh, get your butt down.
Yeah.
Do this. Don't you give up, so-and-so. And that kind of attention, that really helps people kind of stay held accountable, but it helps them.
And I think that's something mentees need to do. If you're going to ask somebody to mentor you, you got to let them. I always tell you that. I don't want to tell even, I don't tell an artist how to do his art. If I'm coming to you, that's why even in the convos of this show, I call you coach, because out of sign of respect. But I come to you and ask you to do this for me. I have to allow you to do it in the way that, you see fit. And I have to humble myself. And all entrepreneurs, if you're going out there seeking mentorship, don't go out and seek a mentor and then tell them how to mentor. You may need to curate who you call a mentor. You may need to do a little curation in that process. But once you find the person who is where you at, has the advice that you need, don't go there trying to dictate how they should mentor you.
And I'll tell you, hands down, one of the best things to really judge if you have a mentor that really is about what they say is they don't have the answer for everything. That's hands down the biggest thing. When people come to me and, hey, what about this? That out of my pay scale. I don't know that one, but I know someone that can know that for you. So if you have a mentor that's like, oh yeah, I got this, and every single thing you guys are doing, he's got everything. And you're like,
right.
You're not at the top, but like,
right.
So someone who's humble in their teachings, who understands that I'm still learning. Like, regardless of what I know, it's just because I started first.
That's another pearl of wisdom. If you find a mentor that knows everything, find another mentor.
Yeah, get the fuck out of here. and that's literally, you don't want to know what I equate that to is those cookie cutter karate shops.
Right.
That when you meet that instructor and he's like, yeah, I can do this, and I got that, this and that. Well, what if this happened? Don't worry, I got this and that. And
I know.
So it's
few things bring me more joy than watching fake kung fu on the internet.
Yeah. But it's you want someone who's humble, who's gonna, man, this is.
Let's talk about fitness and fitness levels, because one of the first things when everybody comes to me and says, I want to be an entrepreneur, starts asking me about entrepreneurship, I look them dead in the eye and I say, okay, what are you willing to give up? And they give a litany of answers, but I've never truly heard anybody say, I want to gain 40 pounds. I want my blood pressure to go up. I want a heart palpitation. And starting a business will affect your health. Yeah. No way about it. No two ways about it. So, and you have to put in measures for yourself to counteract that. So the point that I'm driving at is that your physical fitness level, especially when you're trying to undertake something so strenuous, matters greatly with regards to your mental health and the success of your business. If any of those things fail, it's all gone. How do you relate physical fitness to mental health?
I've been preaching this for the longest, is that if you think, and this is for stay-at-home dads or moms, this is for business owners, this is for everybody that cares about the people in their life. If you think that you can not take care of your body, get a minimal amount of sleep, be 100% at your job, be 100% with your family, be 100% in things that make you outside of work, you're fucking lying to yourself. There's no way that's gonna happen. If my beautiful, amazing girlfriend, love her to death, she has a job where we help humans, and she works for La Familia, and she's head of the Birth and Beyond, and she's helping people on a regular basis. And I mean, these are people that are immigrants that come over, and she's trying to help them get housing and get some programs to get car seats and food stamps and food banks. That absorbs into her body. She does boxing and jiu-jitsu with me and stuff like that. She eats okay, but because she's so stressed with this job, she stays home late because she loves to do all the things at home. She can't be 100% with the things that she wants. And so as an entrepreneur, if you think you're going to change your lifestyle and be in business for yourself, you have to be 100%. So that means having good sleep hygiene. That means good flexibility. If you can't get to the gym and do a mile and lift weights, that's fine. Flexibility, good sleep hygiene, decent diet, stay away from acidic things, you know what I mean? And that'll help promote the swelling. One thing that's that's an easy tip for people. If you want to get swelling out of your body, get one of those little $200 Amazon portable steam rooms. I was 195, I think on the first or something like that, and I lost 7 pounds just by using the steam room. All the swelling in my legs went away, and all that stuff. So little things like that. Then I started foam rolling. I started doing my cupping, where I have
foam rolling is the truth.
Yeah,
you got me up to that.
Cupping on my shoulders and stuff. And I have a vast understanding of the body because I've been doing massage therapy. But these are things that if you don't take care of yourself, if you're like I've worked with this guy I worked with this lawyer guy. He was a military lawyer in the military. Came to is it McGeorge? Is that the
school
the
down
school
here?
over there? He was so good in the school during his education there. They hired him to grade the papers of all of his classmates. Okay. He graduated from there, and they brought him on as a teacher. Right, his first day out of graduation. Right. He would sit at this desk. I know he sat at a desk for 12 hours, right, not eaten, pooped, or anything, and hit cases. Like the intensity of him, and I could tell what kind of human he was by his body. Right. Because he would have and he was like, I think, mid-70s or something like that. Right. And his name is Jill Zatia, and he is actually a powerhouse in Sacramento. Okay. But his strength was ridiculous. His resourcefulness, how strong of a human he was, I could see it in his body.
So this is a half of a shameless plug, but it bears into what we're talking about quickly. If somebody is, and it might not be top tier on the list, but it definitely needs to be up in the top 3. If you're starting your own business, if you're really serious about starting your own business, you better have some kind of health plan, enhanced health plan to go along with that, physical health plan, if you plan on undertaking this major endeavor. Is that fair?
Definitely. You just
call Coach Kito for training.
Think about this. I like it. I like where he has that. Think about this. You're a vehicle. Right. You're a fucking Hummer. Right. Big old tank. If you don't do
you hear that, baby? I'm talking to my wife. I'm a Hummer.
If you don't do maintenance on your vehicle, what happens to your vehicle? Okay. I was born in '78, and I love the Chevelle. So I want to get one of those cars that's one on my bucket list. But if you take care of a '78 Chevelle and you're changing the wheels, you're doing, I don't know anything about cars, so if you're doing maintenance on a Chevelle, it's gonna run the same way it ran back in '78. Right. If you're not doing anything on that vehicle, why would you expect it to do anything different than stop working? Like my mentality is, I'm going to feel the way I feel until the day I die. If I continue to take care of my body the way I do, I don't see anything else going different. Like, there's people in Japan, the centurions, that live past 100 on a regular basis.
I like the way you think.
And I've already made that decision. And that's what this whole thing is about, is once you make that decision to be an entrepreneur, it's going to be terrifying. It's going to be scary. If you don't want to, walk away.
So I have a real life Kung Fu master in front of me. I would be remiss as a child of the 80s and 90s if I didn't bring up my favorite Kung Fu movie in the context of what we're talking about, The Last Dragon. Oh, yeah. Now watch me meander down this path all the way, something useful, because I actually do use it mentally in business. The takeaway of that movie, that fantastic movie, is I am the master. He gets to the end, he's searching all around for masters. He gets to the end, he's fighting, showing off with the shoulder pads and the red, and he gets to the realization at the end of the movie that he is the master. There's the one place he hasn't looked. He's looked all over the city. He's looked, he's asked everybody, but he hasn't looked inside and said, oh, wow, I've been training. I'm ready. And I want that's my fervent goal, is for every entrepreneur that's a real entrepreneur to have their Bruce Leroy moment, to look inside and say, damn, I'm that person. Mm-hmm. Not I need somebody to put me on. So I take it you gotta have that mentality even before you win your first championship. Right. So how you convince yourself that you're the man before you actually knock the man out?
You have to have visualization. You have to be able to see what when I get a fight and someone asks me if I'm nervous, of not at that moment, but I've already visualized losing to this guy, and I visualized beating this guy. The feeling of it goes back to, it's just your mentality. It's how you see yourself. And for a lot of people, that's scary because they've never been given permission to feel amazing. I'm very eccentric. I'm very, with my whole mental health stuff, I get very, what's the word? Grandiose like mentality. I'm very like, I can't do anything but other than what I put my mind to. And mind you, I understand all people don't have that, or they don't show it as much, but I believe everyone has a portion of that in them where they want something really bad, but they're just so afraid to take those steps. And I think that's where having that good entrepreneur or what is it? What you're saying? Mentor. Having that good mentor that can remember what it was like to be so excited and be so scared at the same time, and kind of what they would have done. I think that's the thing that I do the most. Is I didn't have any parents growing up, or so it was my coaches. And now where I'm at now, I'm going to talk to someone who's so excited and all they can see is money. Oh, I want to get all the way down there, but they don't want to see what they have to do. So I try to give them the guidance that I needed at that time, how to funnel that energy. I want you. You're gonna kill people. Don't worry.
Right.
But we got to teach you the right way.
Right.
You know, because I can take guys to. I have this Russian guy that I've trained for the longest, and I can handle him like he's just a little baby, throw him around and stuff, because his mentality is he believes that he's something he's not yet. Does that make sense?
Elaborate on that. I think you're going somewhere with that.
His whole mentality is he can beat me up because he's bigger and stronger. Right. And I had to show you that that's a possibility when you understand the rules. If you don't understand the rules of the game, I'm 100 and I think I was 175 pounds and he was 240 or 260 at the time.
Entrepreneurs.
Beasting him. And it's my mentality.
Learn the rules to this entrepreneurial game and give yourself permission to be amazing. Man.
That's real.
You the truth, Coach.
Thank you so much, yo.
Everybody, Coach Kito Andrews. Hey, phenom.
Yeah, you were great at
man, the myth and the legend. Hey, we all got our little gifts, but
you saved me like 5 times.
Hey, we saved each other, man. That's what kindred spirits do, and I can't tell you how much I've appreciated you. First of many conversations, and I want to gift you with one of our mantra shirts. That wants you to take a break from opinions.
Thank you so much. Oh, it's such a pleasure to be on, man.
Kito Andrews, everybody.
All right, thank you.